We all have neighbors we barely notice, the ones we meet in the hallways with a polite nod or a quick good morning, the forgotten faces behind apartment doors that close and open every day. We trust the thin walls that divide our lives, the locks that keep our personal spaces sacred. But what if those boundaries aren't as strong as we think? What if someone has been watching, studying your habits, your preferences, waiting for the perfect moment to enter your life and change it? And by then, it may already be too late. Morgan never thought much about apartment 4B until the cup incident. Her neighbor was a shadow of a person, average height, average build, unremarkable face. They'd pass in the hallway with polite nods, occasionally exchanging a quiet good morning or evening, nothing more. Morgan didn't even know his name until she checked the mailbox directory. David Mercer. It started with her favorite coffee mug, the blue ceramic one with tiny white stars found on the wrong shelf one morning. A small thing, easily dismissed as her own absent-mindedness. She'd been working long hours at the design firm, coming home exhausted. Still, it bothered her. Then came the bookshelf. Morgan had arranged her books by color, a designer's indulgence. But on Tuesday, she noticed the blue section was now arranged by height. Just the blue books, nothing else. "You probably did it yourself and don't remember," her friend Zoe said when Morgan called her. "You've been working 80-hour weeks." Morgan wasn't convinced. More changes followed. Her toothbrush moved from the left side of the sink to the right. Bathroom towels folded differently. Plants rotated. Shoes paired neatly by the door instead of scattered where she'd kicked them off. She began keeping notes, documenting the position of objects before leaving for work, checking them upon return. The evidence mounted. Someone was entering her apartment and making small, deliberate changes. One evening, Morgan came home to find a photograph on her coffee table. She didn't recognize a picture of a lake at sunset. Beautiful, but definitely not hers. When she picked it up, she noticed writing on the back, "Our anniversary, Lake Geneva, 2022. The handwriting wasn't hers, and she'd never been to Lake Geneva. She dropped the photo as if it had burned her. The next morning, the photo was gone. She began to question herself. Had she imagined it? Was she working too hard? Morgan started taking photos of her apartment before leaving each day, comparing them to what she found upon return. The evidence was undeniable. Someone was not only entering her space but trying to insert objects that suggested a life she didn't remember living. Morgan bought a small motion-activated camera and hid it on her bookshelf, angled to capture most of her living room. That night, she watched the footage with trembling hands. There he was, David from 4B, letting himself in with a key at 1:43 p.m. He moved through her apartment with the familiarity of someone who belonged there, straightening objects, rearranging items, placing a framed photo on her side table, then removing it before leaving, as if testing her perception or memory. The building had security cameras in the lobby and hallways. Morgan requested the footage, claiming she thought she'd seen someone suspicious. There at 2:14 p.m., David from 4B stood motionless outside her door. After a full minute, he produced a key, unlocked her door, and slipped inside. 17 minutes later, he emerged and disappeared back into his own apartment. Morgan felt ice spreading through her veins. "Who is he?" she asked the building manager. "David Mercer. Been here about 3 years. Perfect tenant, quiet, pays early, never complains." That night, Morgan changed her locks, hiring an emergency locksmith despite the expense. She considered calling the police but hesitated. What would she say? That her neighbor was tidying up? It sounded ridiculous, even to her. While waiting for the locksmith, Morgan did some research on David Mercer. His digital footprint was minimal, no social media accounts she could find, no LinkedIn profile, nothing that would help her understand who he was or why he had fixated on her. But a local news archive search yielded one result from 2 years ago, a small article about a car accident on the interstate. Among the injured was a David Mercer and his wife. No names or photos of the wife, just a mention that she had suffered head trauma. The locksmith finished around 11 p.m., assuring Morgan that the new locks were top of the line. No one's getting through these without making a lot of noise, he promised. Morgan double-checked all windows and the balcony door before finally preparing for bed. She plugged in her phone, the battery had been draining unusually quickly lately, and took a sleeping pill. Her doctor had prescribed them weeks ago when she first complained about insomnia, back when she thought work stress was her biggest problem. She placed the crystal vase Zoe had given her on the nightstand, within easy reach. Not that she expected to need it, the new locks would keep him out, but the weight of it in her hand was reassuring. Sleep didn't come easily despite the pill. Every creak, every distant door closing in the building jolted her awake. Around 3 a.m., she finally drifted off, her body surrendering to exhaustion. The sound of a key in the lock wrenched Morgan from sleep. She sat bolt upright in bed, heart hammering. That was impossible, she'd changed the locks just hours ago. Heavy footsteps moved deliberately through her living room, not trying to be quiet, almost confident. Morgan reached for her phone on the nightstand. Dead. She'd definitely plugged it in, she remembered the green charging light. Someone had unplugged it while she slept. Panic rose in her throat as she glanced around the darkened bedroom for something, anything to defend herself with. The crystal vase. She grabbed it, its substantial weight both comforting and terrifying in her hands. This was real. This was happening. The footsteps approached her bedroom. Slow, methodical. A floorboard creaked, the same one that always announced her own approach to the bedroom door. How did he know to avoid the others that squeaked? Morgan slid out of bed, positioning herself against the wall beside the door. If he came in, she'd have one chance to swing the vase at his head. Her hands trembled so badly she worried she might drop it. Her bedroom door, already ajar, began to open wider. "I know you're awake, Morgan," came David's voice, soft and conversational. "You always wake up at the slightest noise. I've watched you sleep enough to know that." The door swung fully open. David stood silhouetted against the dim light from the living room. In one hand, he held what looked like her spare set of keys. "How?" Morgan began, her voice cracking. "I changed the locks. And the building manager changed them back when I told him you were having a psychotic episode," David said pleasantly. "I have power of attorney after all." "That's not possible," Morgan whispered, clutching the vase tighter. "We're strangers." David sighed, stepping into the room. "We're not strangers, Morgan. We've never been strangers." As he moved into the sliver of moonlight from the window, Morgan saw his face clearly for the first time, really saw it. The pleasant, forgettable feature she'd passed 100 times in the hallway now seemed like a mask about to slip. "What do you want?" she demanded, trying to keep her voice steady. "Want?" David tilted his head, considering. "I want things to be as they should be, everything in its proper place." He gestured around the room. "You're so disorganized, Morgan. So chaotic. I've been trying to help, but you keep undoing my work." He took another step forward. Morgan raised the vase. "Stay back," she warned. "This is just like last time," David said, shaking his head with disappointment. "And the time before that, you always forget, and we always end up here." "What are you talking about?" Morgan's back hit the wall, nowhere left to retreat. "The doctor said your memory might never fully recover after the accident." David's voice was gentle, concerned. "But I didn't think you'd forget your own husband." Morgan's mind reeled. "You're not, we're not." 3 years, Morgan. We've lived here 3 years. Your accident was 2 years ago. The brain trauma, the memory loss. Some days are better than others. On your good days, you remember me, remember us." He pulled out his wallet, showing her a photo of them together, smiling. Her hair was different, but it was unmistakably her. The vase wavered in her hands. "That's not real. You edited that." "The wedding photo is in the living room. Your medication is in the bathroom cabinet prescribed to Morgan Mercer." Your parents' phone number is on the emergency contact list by the fridge. Call them if you don't believe me." His voice hardened slightly. "Though it's 3 a.m., so perhaps wait until morning." Morgan's grip on reality began to slip. Was it possible? The gaps in her memory she'd attributed to overwork, the strange feeling of disconnection from her apartment sometimes. But then she remembered the camera footage. "I saw you on my security camera, breaking in while I was at work." Something flickered across David's face, surprise, quickly masked. "What camera?" "The one on my bookshelf," Morgan said, a surge of confidence returning. "I have footage of you entering my apartment yesterday, changing things, moving things." David was silent for a moment, calculating. "Morgan, there is no camera. That's part of your delusion. The doctors warned me you might start having paranoid episodes." "You're lying," Morgan insisted. "I saw you." "Where is this camera then?" David interrupted, his voice harder now. "Show me." Morgan hesitated. The camera was hidden behind books on her shelf. If she told him where, he might destroy it, her only evidence. "It doesn't matter," she said. "The footage is already backed up to my cloud account. The police will see it." David's expression changed then, the pleasant mask dropping completely. His eyes went cold, his jaw tightening. "Every time," he said, his voice suddenly low and dangerous. "Every time we go through this, I'm tired of starting over, Morgan." He lunged forward, faster than she expected. Morgan swung the vase, but he caught her wrist, squeezing until her fingers opened involuntarily. The vase fell to the carpet with a muffled thud. "You need to remember your place," David hissed, his face inches from hers. The slap came without warning, a sharp crack across her face that sent her stumbling sideways onto the bed. Pain bloomed across her cheek as she looked up at him in shock. David straightened his shirt, his face settling back into its unremarkable mask. "Now," he said calmly, "let's get you back to sleep. You'll feel more rational in the morning." Morgan stared at him, a single tear tracking down her stinging cheek, understanding dawning in her eyes. It had happened before, it would happen again, and no one would ever believe her.